I have this nightmare headache of a sister-in-law. She absolutely makes my life a living heck. She tries to make everybody think that I'm poor because I don't like to dress in designer clothing. Sue me. I make a lot of money, but it's none of her business. She thinks she's some hotshot because she makes 6 figures a year. Whoop-de-doo, so do I. So guess what, guys? She comes at me with some very rude stuff, so I expose her to the entire family, and I don't really care what my in-laws think. Let me tell you about the juicy drama. Hey everyone, I'm 30 and female and have a bit of a problem I could use some advice on. I don't have anywhere else to vent, and there's a lot of background information I need to hop into, so this is going to be a long one. I would appreciate your supportive comments and advice I could get. First, I've always been the quiet, mousy, somewhat nerdy type. I've always been bookish, studious, and a hard worker. I've always kept my nose to the grindstone and lived a frugal lifestyle. The truth is, I'm a computer programmer who's worked from home and makes 6 figures every year. No one in my family knows that about me. I dress in cheap, comfortable clothing, and I don't do a lot of traveling. Some might say I'm boring, but I'm totally fine and content working at my house, hanging out with my cats, watching my favorite TV shows, and, those types of things. I've just never been the type of person to buy a mansion, luxury sports car or something. Frankly, I've already had everything I need, and most of my extra income goes right into my savings account. Now that's out of the way, allow me to tell you about my sister Trisha. We've always had a kind of respectful towards Trisha, not because I respect her, but because I respect and love my brother Bob. Bob and I have always been close. Most of our family has spread out across the country or passed away, but we've always lived in our old hometown and have always been close to one another. When Bob announced he was getting married, I was so excited for him. But once I met Trisha, I truly could not see what he saw in that woman. Trisha is a doctor, so she's quite wealthy, accomplished, successful, and intelligent. But she's rude, vindictive, selfish, attention-seeking, and judgmental. From the moment I first encountered her, she's made rude comments to me about my quiet, nerdy stature, or jokes about the fact that my clothing is not brand name. I brought up this issue with Bob several times, and while he's usually supportive of me and my desires, he does not want to take sides on this matter. I understand somewhat there has to be some reason he's in love with Trisha, other than the fact that she's beautiful and wealthy. Still, the matter of her rudeness was left unattended and only kept getting worse. I should also point out that me and Bob essentially have no choice but to attend Trisha's family's gathering. I get along with some members of Trisha's family, but Trisha's presence makes all the gatherings unbearable for me. Once she gets a few drinks in her, she will never fail to start making rude comments about me. She reminds me of the mean girls from high school who always bullied me for being a nerd. Well, now I'm making $400,000 a year, and all those girls are working at a fast food restaurant or not working at all. Regardless, me and Bob's family are so spread out, and we can't ever hang a family gathering with our side of the family, so we have been attending Trisha's side of the family gatherings for some time now. One of the other awful aspects of attending these gatherings on Trisha's side of the family is dealing with her mother, Edna. Once I met Edna, suddenly Trisha's foul personality made a little bit more sense to me, because Edna's basically the spitting image of Trisha. They have the same cruel and catty sense of humor, the same judgmental traits, and the same selfish and rude behaviors. Naturally, this means whenever Trisha starts zeroing in on me at family gatherings, Edna is always close by to join in. My brother Bob just sits back and watches this happen, or he will leave the room and pretend like it's not happening at all. This has been going on for a while now. Now that all the background information's out of the way, that brings us to why I'm writing this post to you today. I've had a family gathering coming up, and per usual, I had been dreading it. I discussed this with Bob, but I was once again unfairly dismissed. I tried to think of an excuse to get out of attending, but I knew the family gathering was important to Bob because he was celebrating the 1-year anniversary of his engagement with Trisha. I knew he wanted me to be there for them, so I did what any good sister would do and decided to attend the gathering. Of course, I entered the house with much nervousness. Things went fairly well, smoothly at first, and members of Trisha's extended family offered their greetings to me, and I had a few friendly conversations with people. Trisha and Edna were both busy with the dinner party preparation, so I did not see much of them for the first part of the family gathering, which was nice for me, but I should have known things would not continue to go smooth for much longer. I had a bad feeling from the very beginning when we all sat down in the dining room for the big celebration. There was a lot of wine and other alcohol available, and I could just tell as soon as Trisha and Edna started speaking that they had both consumed quite a large amount of alcohol. So this started to put me on edge, anxiety. Sure enough, it was not long before the rude comments and questions started coming my way. You would think that Trisha would be focused more on celebrating her marriage, but I guess bullying me in front of her whole family is her idea of celebrating this occasion. How pathetic. It started off with the usual comments about my clothes. Trisha asked me, "Oh, you decided to wear that? That's supposed to be a marriage celebration, not a pajama party." I just pretended to laugh at this, weird, rude joke, because I did not want to make a scene and confront Trisha, only out of respect for my brother's wishes. Still, I was beginning to fume already. Edna soon joined in on the taunts, essentially reiterating what Trisha had just said. I never claimed these two were original. They tend to joke about the exact same things again and again, and nobody's ever had the guts to stand up for me. These taunting and bullying sessions always started off with remarks about my sense of fashion, or apparent lack of fashion in their eyes, and each of these family gatherings were the exact same way, so I knew it would only be a few moments before the bizarre line of questioning started in regard to my career. Well, Trisha started talking about her work as a doctor, babbling on to anybody and nobody in particular, with the assumption that everybody was listening attentively to her every word. That's when the familiar question came along. "So, OP, what do you do for a living? Again, do you do anything for a living at all?" She laughed to herself at this rude joke of hers, and Edna, of course, followed with a little chuckle. I had a bit of a drink myself, so I decided to be intentionally evasive, just to push Trisha's buttons. "Oh, I have a quiet job. It's not much, but it pays the bills." Edna made a joke that I must be a school librarian or a lunch lady with my fashion sense and social skills. Edna and Trisha again both laughed like hyenas at this joke. My blood was beginning to boil with each cackle that came out of these horrible people's mouth. Finally, I decided to come clean about my job. I told everyone in the room that I'm a computer programmer who works from home, and I thought this would be enough to earn some respect and a little bit of decency, but I was wrong. Trisha immediately made another joke about how boring it is to work at home. She said that she would simply go crazy if she only got to sit around the house all day. I thought this was funny, honestly. I really did. Considering Trisha's house is twice the size of mine, clearly this woman is not appreciative of what she has. The family gathering ended, and I decided to drop the subject with these two. I bit my tongue and continued with the ordeal until it was over, and I discussed the issue with Bob again, but was once again dismissed. He admitted that Trisha has been rude, but all he could do was cowardly make excuses for her foul and rude behavior. Guys, do any of you have any advice on how to deal with this situation? I'm getting ready to end my ropes, and I'm so sick and tired of being bullied and belittled by Trisha and Edna. To make matters worse, I have another family gathering at Trisha's house in just a few days. Unfortunately, it's Trisha's best friend's birthday, and I don't even know this person. But Bob has already insisted that I attend. I don't think I can deal with these people anymore. Can you give me some advice, please? Update number 1. Hey everyone, I'm back for yet another update for everybody of what happened at the family gathering I've mentioned in my last post. Thanks for all the supportive and kind words I've received. I truly appreciate the support, and I thank you all for reading this far. So, as for all you know, I've dreaded the next family gathering that was just a few days away from my last post. I discussed the issues with Bob some more because frankly I was losing sleep over the situation. I was so stressed and I was so tired of being abused by Trisha and Edna. In discussion with Bob, we got to talking about Trisha and he let it slip that she only makes $250K a year. Now, I know $250K is a lot of money, but I was surprised that one of the most successful doctors in our small town community makes less than I do as a computer programmer working from home. I kept this fact in the back of my mind. Of course, as often as it does, Bob persuaded me to attend his family gathering. Truthfully, I did not understand why my presence was needed at Trisha's best friend's birthday party, but whatever. The whole family was there yet again, including Edna, and once again we were all seated in the dining room. So, Trisha looked over as if she had something on her mind. And finally, she started asking me about my job again. She started insinuating that I must be bored working at home all the time, and she said that must be why my fashion sense is so out of style and boring. Finally, I've had enough. That's it. I bluntly asked Trisha how much money she makes, and she seemed shocked and said that it was none of my business, but then I pointed out that I knew she made about $250K a year. I revealed to her I make $400,000. The entire room fell silent and nobody said a word. And I went home shortly after because the party was uncomfortable. Maybe now Trisha and Edna will think twice about disrespecting me. Update number 2. Hey guys, unfortunately I'm back for another update. A lot of you were asking about what happened the next. Well, here's the update. I was truly hoping this whole situation would just blow over, but I should have known better than to even speak up to Trisha. Now, this whole situation's getting out of hand. Let me tell you all that's been happening. So I could definitely tell I offended Trisha with my comment about my salary, but what did she expect after all this time of bullying me about my appearance and my job? Well, I gave her the information she wanted, and the way I saw it, she had no right to be upset with me. Well, several days have passed since then, and I can already tell rumors of my salary have spread throughout the community. People are treating me differently, and people I have not spoken to in years are hitting me up online, asking me for financial favors. Obviously, Trisha, or someone has been running their mouth. She's a doctor for most of the town's population, so she's obviously gossiping about me. Today, I get a visit from Bob. Bob tells me about how Trisha has been working herself to death ever since finding out my salary is higher than hers. It's ridiculous. Apparently, Trisha's even been looking into studying some medical specialties in order to boost her salary. I can't figure out why she's so concerned with competing with me. I can't figure out why she's doing this to herself. And Bob can't either. Of course, Bob is so blinded by his love for Trisha that he's under the mistaken impression that this is all my fault. I just can't win. Bob has asked me to deal with the situation, but I was blunt about the matter and told him I did not feel that this was my responsibility. Now, my brother, the only ally I have, is upset with me over Trisha's crazy dramatic actions. I just don't know what to do to get all this madness to stop. Update number 3. Hey everyone, it's me again, back for yet another update. I know it's been a little while since my last update, and I've been getting a lot of comments and questions about what happened next, so I wanted to fill you all in on what's been going on and get you all up to speed. Again, I wish I could say this situation's blown over, but things just kept getting crazier in my life. I have not heard from Bob or Trisha in a little while. I expected this and understood. I assumed Bob was probably ignoring me to show his love for Trisha or some silly nonsense. Regardless, I just got back to work and decided to focus on myself. I was content with just sitting back and letting them deal with their silly drama while focusing on my job. Lately, I've been a bit too stressed out and tired to cook, so I've been going to restaurants and drinking at the local bars a bit. I normally never do stuff like that, but lately I've really felt the need to blow off a bit of steam and hang out with some of the local establishments. So I've been gone most of the nights for several days. I started noticing some discrepancies with my work laptop. At first I was wondering if I've been trying to work and made mistakes while under the influence of alcohol, but I knew I had simply been having a few drinks at the bar and going to bed when I got home. But the files on my computer weren't making any sense. Some files were deleted, and some of the documents had mistakes. Not to toot my own horn or sound arrogant here, but these were mistakes I would never make. I've been a programmer for nearly a decade now. I immediately grew suspicious, but I wasn't really sure what to do about this. I had seen no evidence of any trespassing or home invasions in my house, but I decided to view my cameras anyways. I have cameras in my house because I work for important companies with a lot of confidential information. Sure enough, I saw Trisha coming into my house at night while I was gone at the restaurant and bar, and she's been coming into my office and sabotaging my work files. I could not believe it. Well, I knew she was bad, but I did not know she was this bad. I'm not sure what to do, but I will let you guys know what happens next. Update number 4. Hey guys, I'm back for yet another update. Sorry I left on such a cliffhanger last time, but I just needed to share the information with you all before I proceed. At first, I thought about confronting Trisha herself with the evidence of her wrongdoing and sabotaging behavior, but I knew Trisha would just deny it and twist everything around to make me look bad if I was the only one confronting her. I decided to contact Bob. Bob still has not spoken to me since our last fight, which I mentioned in one of my previous posts, but I texted Bob, saying that we needed to talk and that it was extremely important. At first, he was dismissive, but I told him what was happening. I sent him all the evidence and proof that Trisha had been sabotaging my work. Bob immediately called me and apologized profusely for her behavior. He said that he had no idea Trisha was that obsessed with my work. We both agreed that we needed to sit Trisha down and discuss this with her. I needed Trisha to know that if she was not willing to grow up and stop this senseless behavior, I was going to report her to the police. So, me and Bob decided to meet up and confront Trisha at their house, and at first Trisha denied it all, but then she knew that she could not keep up the charade any longer, and suddenly she burst into anger and began to sob. She admitted that her mother, Edna, had also pressured her to be this way, and she said that she would be abused if she did not conform to her mother's wishes. And she, did not like the fact that growing up with a wealthy, judgmental mother had made her the same way. She admitted that Edna had in fact belittled her for having a smaller salary than me, which shocked me that a mother would say that to her daughter. For the first time since I met Trisha, I felt some sympathy for her. Trisha apologized to me profusely, just as Bob had done when confronted with this uncomfortable truth. She said that the pressure to be rich and perfect had turned her into a foul person. I could not believe I heard her admit this fact out loud, but I was happy to see it. I'm not sure what's going to happen next, but I'm happy to see Trisha display some self-awareness for once. Update number 5. Hey everyone, thank you for reading so far, and thanks to everybody who has left kind and supportive comments. I also appreciate all the great advice I've received throughout all this drama I've been dealing with. You've all been a tremendous help, and it's been great having a place where I could vent without being judged throughout all this. So, thank you once again. This is going to be my final update after me and Bob confronted Trisha about her sabotaging my work files for the first time in her life. She actually seemed to show some self-awareness. She was apologetic and seemed genuine about wanting to change her ways. I found out that Trisha has been going to therapy. She's been discussing the abusive relationship she's had with her mother that led her to being so judgmental and obsessed with money. Me and Trisha have also been going out to lunch and dinner here and there, discussing our lives and getting to know each other better. It turns out we actually have a lot in common, but Edna was the driving force behind making sure Trisha always belittled and made fun of me. Now, Trisha is not so concerned with her salary. Her therapist helped her realize she's been living to meet Edna's expectations instead of living for her own desires. I'm so proud of Trisha for reaching this conclusion and working on herself. So as I type this today, I'm currently in a luxury hotel room in the Bahamas. It's so nice out here. Normally, I'd never just up and take an expensive vacation like this, but it was actually Bob and Trisha who invited me to come and insisted I tag along. We all agreed that after the drama and stress that we had all endured, we could use a bit of a vacation. They even offered to cover all the expenses, but I refused. After all, I still make more money, but I'm glad that we have gotten past all that now. I never would have been able to get through this without all the help and support from you guys, so thank you for reading this. Honestly, this is like one of the few times where in-law story, sister-in-law, or mother-in-law actually plays out to be a pretty good ending. I mean, it worked out for both parties. Everybody seems to be getting some sort of counseling or therapy, and it just seems like it's overall going in the right direction. But I do want to know your thoughts about this. Do you think that maybe down the line, the sister-in-law or the mother-in-law is going to snap again and make OP's life even worse than it was before? Guys, I would love to hear your thoughts about this one. We've seen quite a few sister-in-law dramas on this story if you've been here for a while, so we kinda know how to navigate this path. Let's drop some advice down below, and if you're new to the channel, I hope you enjoyed it. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories daily. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.